Good morning, welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. There's nothing like an international break to get the rumour mill going when it comes to Celtic, isn't there? And yes, we're going to add to it this morning. The rumour mill was going crazy yesterday, and it has been since the game at the weekend. People asking the question, the Celtic players came out in the second half, and normally this season, when Martin O'Neill has had his team talk at half time, because whatever's been said on the pitch isn't good enough by Callum McGregor. Second half, whatever Martin O'Neill has said to the team at half time didn't work at the weekend. We know that. We've seen that. We've seen Martin O'Neill going absolutely ballistic at players. And it's led to people online saying, well, has there been a fallout? And is there a fallout that goes all the way back to the game at Ibrox? We all know that the Celtic players, well, some of the Celtic players went out for a wee shindig, a wee bit swally, maybe took it a little bit too far. And one player in particular was swinging for the rafters, as they say. One player was swinging for the rafters, and one, whether it was a real picture or not, or whether it was AI generated, I don't know. But one person said, we know what he said on his phone, allegedly. But it's a case of, has Martin O'Neill fallen out with some players? Let's look at the evidence. We know that he's fallen out with Balikwisha. He basically told Balikwisha, you're absolutely never playing for me or Celtic whilst I am here. You might get a shot under another manager. You know, he was told that before Wilfred Nancy came in. He told Balikwisha that, look, you're just not good enough, lad. You're not playing for me, after we spent £5 million on him. And then there's the players that came in the last transfer window that Martin O'Neill rubber stamped. Julian Araujo was looking like the only real good gem that we had found that we'd managed to get, and that he was brought in by Wilfred Nancy. I mean, it's even more ridiculous, and maybe that is the reason why he's been sent packing by Martin O'Neill back down south. You know, the talk of an injury. Martin O'Neill's very good at, you know, playing the media and not. You know, it's maybe just me and my age, son. I don't know. There's one thing for sure. What Sunday did show is the team is in a bit of disarray. Callum McGregor put it down to performance level. He spoke like he would, as if you're 3 games into. Someone said last night he was talking like he was 3 games into the league season, and we had lost 1 and won 2. You know, it was about refocusing and thinking about where we want to be at the end of the season. There's one thing for sure. Whatever happens, the rumour mill will just go ballistic over the next week and a half until the players do return to training. Martin O'Neill did say that Julian Araujo will do his rehab down at Bournemouth. If it was just a thigh strain, you know, a muscle strain, you know, would he necessarily go all the way back down there to do his rehab? It's a bit of a strange one. You know, things aren't starting to add up. And then it begs the question, has Martin O'Neill lost some of the dressing room? Now, conversations like that will take place with people all over the world. You know, the fact that he's already fallen out with one player that we know of, if he has fallen out, because let's face facts, after the debacle with the party, and if Martin has went through the players, which is quite rightly so. Lauren says, Ryan Christie said in a podcast that Araujo is back with them getting some treatment. I don't think there's anything in these rumours, says Lauren. Yeah, it's like I said at the beginning, it's rumour mill season due to the fact that Celtic are lying third in the position in the league, and you know, people are now starting to question whether Martin O'Neill really knows what's going on at the club, or if he is trying to stamp his authority. And then there's the whole question of why didn't the club come come out and make a statement about the way that the Celtic fans were treated at Ibrox. Do you know that the blame was put onto the Celtic fans and the 7,500 or 7,000 odd Celtic fans, that was the issue. The board are very quick at condemning fans and banning fans. There's one thing for sure, this Celtic hierarchy will never ever back the fans. That is more than apparent. But anyway, it's going to be a quick one this morning because, as we expect, it's International Week, and the big chat is that Kasper Schmeichel didn't go in for his operation on Friday. He's going in this week for his operation, and it'll be interesting to see what happens, what comes of that. And I think the big thing about the big takeaway from the weekend is the way that Callum McGregor spoke to the media afterwards. Because you've got to admit, it was the worst poker face ever from Callum McGregor. If that was him trying to say that everything's fine in the background, it does make you wonder. Because that is the worst poker face ever from Callum McGregor. It's there. You know, he looks like he looks like he's scared in the headlights. If that's him being completely honest, God, his missus must know when he's fucking talking a lot of shite. That's for sure. That is for sure. Anyway, that's enough about Calmac. International weekend. Nothing much will happen. Rumours will get spread. Has been talking about the fact that he was homesick at Celtic. It shows you there's a lack of news this week. The Yang has been getting praised by his international manager. Yang's probably one of the big talking points of this season, isn't he? The player that was dismissed by Celtic. I just noticed something. There we go. And Celtic are putting out spend your holidays at Celtic Easter school thing. Wonder what the Celtic Twitter line is looking like these days. Because that's always a bit of fun and banter, isn't it? The club's falling apart. Yeah, the club is falling apart. And Celtic haven't put anything out. Anything at all on Twitter since the game at the weekend. Put nothing out at all yesterday. That's very unusual from Celtic. Very unusual. Because they always post on social media every single day. And you always know when something's going on in the background at Celtic because they go on radio silence on socials. Yeah, it's been 2 days since, now on Tuesday, the last thing that Celtic posted was on the match, Martin O'Neill. So it does make you wonder. And I know that the players would have had the players would have had a day off yesterday, and the ones that aren't going on to international break, maybe the players are getting a bit of a holiday. You never know. But it is very unusual for Celtic not to have a single thing on their social medias. In my opinion, Rocco got sent back to his antics. The way he was acting on the night out, that's the big rumour that's going about. Question, am I allowed to boo Maida on Saturday? You can boo him all you want. The toxic right-wing cesspit, that is Twitter. I don't think it's just a right-wing cesspit, Twitter, but it's always good to go on for a banter. It's always good to go on for a laugh. I stopped posting on Twitter years ago, really. They didn't even put out a post about what international players are away. Yeah, that's the thing. They always do that. Do you know they always list the international players that are away? I mean, I did a video last week about naming all the ones that had been called up, but Celtic aren't doing that, which says to me there is something going on in the background. It's Celtic are they're so obvious sometimes, so obvious, and they think that they're not. Do you know? They think that we're not watching. Of course, the fans are sitting watching the social media platforms, but yeah, they haven't put a single thing about the international players that are away. When Celtic lose, it's usually radio silence. Yeah, but not for 2 days. They usually put something out. It's international break week. Do you know they usually send out a happy birthday to someone? There's always some ex-Celtic player somewhere whose birthday is when they have nothing to put out. Rocco has been spoken to by O'Neill and doesn't like it, so there's no way back for him. They can't have any merchandise to sell. Well, you would think that coming up for the international break would be the ideal time for them to sort of sell off any stock that wasn't going to be here next season. But like the players, maybe they're not selling any of the merchandise because they're not going to get any players' names on it. The ones on international duty should be the ones not on international duty should be in training every day, says Joseph. Rocco is an improvement on Alistair Johnson. Yeah, I think that he is an improvement on Alistair Johnson, but we don't own the player and we own Alistair Johnston. But as you do a better press conference than Celtic. You've got to. I love watching the Celtic press conferences because the questions that the media put out, and you're just sitting thinking, it's once you get one journalist asking a question on a matter, you know, you don't need 4 or 5 journalists asking the same question with a little different. You know, it's like, well, we've had that answer. Move on to the next thing. But Celtic just seem to go on and on and on. If the lone players were left out of the squad of their antics, then it's absolutely crazy punishing them if necessary. But that punished everyone. Is it punishing players? I mean, for me, and for a lot of people that watch this channel, we love a Rocco because he gets Celtic. It's been a long time since we've had players that want to fight for the club. And by fighting, I don't mean like physical fighting stuff. You know, that get the club, get the heart and soul of the club, get what it means to the fans. And maybe that's the issue, is that they feel that these players are too connected to the fans, and the club went, can't be too connected to these fans, mate. They're bad news. Bad news. Maybe that is the case. I don't know, maybe it's the case that they've got punished for their antics on a night out. Listen, Martin O'Neill, when he was at his time at Celtic in the early 2000s, the players went on a shindig to Newcastle and some of them got arrested. Some got arrested. Do you know? So, I mean, anyway. Jesus. Rocco is not better than Alistair Johnson. Even look at the goals Alistair Johnson brings. Last season he had 19 goals contribution. Ooh, interesting one. Opposing views in the chat. Alistair Johnson is a much better all-round player. We forgot how good he is because he is out. If Rocco was sent to Bournemouth for showing passion, it's a proof that the board want to destroy and stop us winning anything, despite the fans. It's Lawwell's revenge. So Celtic FC to wind up is to be a wind-up merchant. I think that Celtic FC have been a wind-up merchant all season, mate. Come on. Calling a halt to an AGM right in the middle of the AGM. Stopping the AGM for half an hour and saying, right, we're going to leave the room and let everybody calm down. And if you don't calm down, we're going to spit the dummy out and walk out. That's a bit of a wind up. And then having a wee private vote on everything. Of course, the board are on the wind up. They've been on the wind up all season, winding up fans by saying, "Yeah, we'll have discussions with you. Let's talk. Okay, let's talk. We can't talk for 2 or 3 weeks. What What's so important on a day-to-day business that you can't have conversations with us? Oh, just work stuff, mate. Just busy. Just busy. I've got a free in about a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe. But then only certain people could be at that meeting. So it's maybe not going to be the meeting that you want. Of course the club's on the wind-up. It's on the biggest wind-up of the season. Araujo has more passion for the club than the board ever had. From what I remember, Alistair Johnson was not doing well in the beginning of the season. So what about Bruni brought in to be a wind-up merchant? Yeah, Bruni was the biggest wind-up merchant at Celtic. Biggest wind-up merchant. I wonder how Martin O'Neill would have coped with Scott Brown. Scott Brown never went out and got pissed. Well, he did, didn't he? He did. You forget the pictures of Bruni out with his mates in Edinburgh, and some geezer took a picture of Bruni sitting at the side of the street, smashed out his head, getting tore into something. So yeah, Bruni never seemed to be punished for that the way that these players, if they have been punished. What was Jeanette Finlay doing? I have no idea. Oh, no idea. Alistair Johnson isn't coming back the same player. He went out. We need to be realistic about that. Same with Jota this time. Oh, that's a harsh one on the players. I think that's... How do you come to that conclusion? And it's an honest question, because when Henrik Larsson went out and his foot was like... You got to remember, his ankle was facing a completely different way from the way it was naturally meant to be sitting. And that would have been deemed a career-ending injury to Henrik Larsson. What makes you say that these players can't come back and have the same effect? And they're not going to have the same effect as obviously Henrik Larsson had, because he was just a goal-scoring phenomenon. It's just an interesting one. You don't think that Jota and Alistair Johnson are going to come back and have the same effect as players. I think that they can. But you never know. You never know. That was a big wake-up call for Bruno, though. Yeah, it was a big wake-up. Well, was it? He was still a big wind-up merchant on the pitch. After that, he went through the game at Aberdeen, where he was getting kicked all over the place, and he gets up and walking a bit like that. We had the El Hash Doof Bruni moment, wind-up moment. He never stopped. I don't think it was much of a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call to stop going about with people that that aren't good for you. I would say that, but it never stopped him doing what he did on the pitch. And maybe it is the Celtic one. Scott Brown to be the next Celtic manager? Not a chance. He's going to get chased out of his current club, that's for sure. They're not happy with him down there. But I don't think that Scott Brown will be the next Celtic manager. Jota is pish as well. For fuck's sake. The drinking. I think that the drinking, and I think he cut ties with some of these Hibby mates at that point. That he'd known since he was a kid. He used to run about with some of the top Hibs guys from back in the day that stayed close, only because they stayed close to him in South Queensferry. That's all that I'm saying. Both the nature of the injuries and the time lost on the pitch, also they'll be coming back to a different Celtic team on and off the pitch, is why you reckon that there won't be similar players. Isn't that just the attitude of the whole squad then? Isn't that the attitude of the club? Has the club changed so much in the background? That then all points to the hierarchy of the club and the stewardship of the club, and then it says to me that you listen to the likes of Charlie Mulgrew and stuff talking about when he was at Celtic, And you talk about, the close relationship that they had with Peter Lawwell as the boss. They all knew Peter Lawwell was the boss. And you look at the relationship that, they would try and get Peter Lawwell on the wind up with some players, just to completely wind up players. It seems to be the case that Nicholson is that far detached from everything at Celtic then. He's detached from the fans, he's detached from what way the club needs to be run and on a daily basis. He seems, if that's the case, he seems to be detached from the players. It's interesting. Interesting that you said that. Alistair Johnson and Jota will make a bit of distance this season. Jota's not back this season. He's not back until next season. We knew that at the beginning of the season. Alistair Johnson, I don't expect him to make a big difference. Lee Griffiths was worse for the booze. Same with Tony Stokes. You need players like that to have their moments. Football has changed massively. Think about Paddy McCourt. Paddy McCourt, he was a raging alkie. Allegedly, in case Paddy tries to sue me, don't sell McCourt, Paddy McCourt. I just don't think you'd understand, because if you sell McCourt, Paddy McCourt, you're going to have a riot on your hands. Where's the quality in the box, though? Our top striker, Johnny Kenny, with 4 goals. We rely on Kelechi Iheanacho, and everyone seems to think that he's the answer. If you look back Kelechi Iheanacho's career, he's never been a prolific goal scorer. Never. In fact, do we have him on? Can we just swap screens? Because we should have everything on Iheanacho. There we go, we'll have it there. And then if I do, where is it? Let me just do this and we'll pull up the stats for Kells, as one manager used to like to call him. Kells. Widget. News overlay. New players. Is it that one? See if this works. No, it didn't. Edit widget. Nope. There we go. We got it. So there's Kelechi Iheanacho. And we can go all the way back to 21-22 season and the goals. Well, you just need to look at the total. Between 21-22 season, 22-23 season, 23-24, 24-25 and 25-26. He scored 10 goals. But some people seem to think that Iheanacho is the answer to Celtic's woes. That doesn't say prolific goal scoring machine to me with Iheanacho, does it? I mean, Leicester, 6 goals. Leicester, 8 goals in a season. It's a bit of a slap in the face to Celtic fans for them to go, yeah, Kelechi Iheanacho is the answer. I mean, that's just uninspiring, as they say. Right, let me see if we can get some more comments up. Kells is all right, but it's a joke trying to get Big Tam match fit after I'm not playing regular. To change now. We have no time for tinkering. Well, there's the stats for Big Kells, as he's like to know. No, he's another donkey, says Greenspan. Exactly. I'm glad you agree. Because those stats don't lie. Do you know what I mean? Just give the money. What's the crack with Big Tam? We're not entirely sure. There's rumours going around that he's fallen out with Martin O'Neill. You can criticise the lack of attacking options, but we have no supply either. Oh, Jesus. Any actual was an injury time panic buy. Here comes all the good any actual stuff. Anyway, that's interesting this morning, isn't it? Oh, you got to love international weeks, isn't it? There's no news to talk about, so we just select the players. Adam Idah would have single-handedly won Celtic the league and had 20 goals by now. I'm glad somebody else is pointing that out. But you'll get people that will say the argument against Adam Idah is, well, he's not scoring goals right now. But then again, you did have a Celtic player that scored 30 odd goals this season that scored practically nothing. The money that we got for Adam Idah, 20 goals last season, was spent on Kell's wages. Imagine if we had just gotten 10 goals from Adam Idah. 10 extra goals from Adam Idah this season would dramatically have changed the season, but unfortunately, Adam Idah was expelled from the club, having fallen out allegedly with the manager. It seems to be an ongoing situation at Celtic, isn't it? Players should be ashamed of themselves from the state of their play, says Green Smoke. Celtic team full of empty jerseys. Is it a Celtic team full of empty jerseys, or is it a Celtic team? What makes us think that everything's all nice and rosy in the garden? Just because Martin O'Neill came back. Everything wasn't rosy in the garden when Wilfred Nancy was here. Players didn't like what Wilfred Nancy's doing. What if the same players, and some of the same players, have fallen out with Martin O'Neill because of situations at the club? Situations where some of the players don't agree with the decisions of the hierarchy. Players tend to stick together, you know, and players, and I'm not saying that the players threw the game at the weekend, but maybe they did. Maybe they just went, fuck off, Martin. Don't know, maybe they just went, fuck off. Martin O'Neill's going mental at the sideline for some reason. The only reason that the manager's going completely mental like that is because he feels that they are not doing what he has told them to do. And then the rumours will start that Martin O'Neill was lost the dressing room. Anyway, that'll be the next one. O'Neill himself is on a shaky nail now. I don't think he's on a shaky nail. He's here to the end of the season, whether you like it or not. Celtic will not get rid of Martin O'Neill before the end of the season. Martin's only pleasing the board. Yes, I said it. I think that we all know that. I think that we all know that Martin O'Neill will just... He's Dermot Desmond's mate, after all. Let's face it. The players can't handle the pressure of playing at Celtic. Flashes of play, not good enough. I've seen better organisation in Sunday League team. What was that from Celtic? We all convince ourselves before games that we deserve to win, and then we play like Sunday's effort. And that's when you have to start asking the questions. Is a performance, if you're performing daily on the training ground, what has happened between... Now, the media have grabbed a hold of a certain video of two young kids waiting to talk to the team as they came out the hotel and went onto the bus. Now, there's another video going on. I mean, talking about negativity, right? I mean, everything seems to be negative about Celtic right now. But there's another video going about where two young kids at the same hotel walk up to Martin O'Neill, get their picture taken with Martin O'Neill, get their picture taken with Sean Maloney and Fozzie. Their dad filmed it happening. But all the negativity is about two young kids that were standing away back from the door, nowhere near the bus, and seemingly Kieran Tierney waved to them when the bus was going away. Maybe if those kids were closer to the front door of the hotel, maybe if they were closer to the bus, they might have got engagement for that. Everything's very selective in what's getting put out by Celtic just now, and everything obviously is negative about Celtic due to the fact that we are plummeting at a rate. Well, it's not plummeting at a. It's been a slow decline over the season. We just never got started. But anyway, hearing the name Ten Hag words, new manager, and some WhatsApp pash. Team of empty jerseys, talentless, heartless, passive individuals. Clear out needed. Scales is prime offender, says Pat. Those players are lucky to have Martin. Let's not be nostalgic. I'm going to play devil's advocate. I know where you're coming from, Sean, right? These players are lucky to have Martin, but let's not be nostalgic. We got nostalgic at the beginning of the season when Martin O'Neill came back. Martin O'Neill, yes, fucking Martin O'Neill. And then the reality is, even if Martin O'Neill had stayed, and we maybe might have won the cup final, maybe have won the cup final, but wouldn't have we're still papering over the cracks. Martin O'Neill would still, the situation with Martin O'Neill was just, it's like getting a birthday present and having the best wrapping paper around it, and then you take it off and you find the Celtic team. Dunno. It's maybe like you go into the internet and you go into a dating website and you see this bird and she looks bang tidy. And then you arrange to go and meet her, and you fucking meet her, and you go, "Oh, Jesus, fuck, you've had heavy filters on your pictures, haven't you? Jesus Christ, man, you should be done for fraud." Anyway, right, that has been done and dusted for this morning. We needed a little bit of hilarity before we leave. Thank you for everyone that's joined in this morning. I shall see you back this evening, where we can talk about a bit more about players like Kelechi Iheanacho and his stats at Celtic this season. Have a fantastic day wherever you are all around the world.